as I was watching, so we've got a monitor set up here. So if I look over to my side, it's so I can see what you guys are saying. So I know you miss Jessie. She'll be back. I promise you're in good hands. And somebody from Chicago had all the little snowmen and snowflakes. We're here in Atlanta. We're supposed to get some snow on Sunday. So we'll see. I think everybody's hoping for a snow day. So we are going to do Sunset Birch. And funny, looking at this painting, our sky has been beautiful here in Georgia the past couple of nights at sunset. And growing up, I used to call this sky blue pink. And I was just thinking about that. So even now, my parents and I will text each other and be like, did you see the sky blue pink? So anyway, that's a little bit. But we are going to be doing this awesome painting, Sunset Birch, giving you some really easy tips and techniques to create this painting. Again, if you have the paints that were in the supply list, great, paint along with me. If you don't, you can do any color options you want. So this is definitely some great tips and techniques. We're using FolkArt paint, of course, available at Michaels and Michaels.com. So I'll go over those colors with you. But again, you can always sub out colors that you have. And if you have questions about that, definitely put it in the chat. So we've got FolkArt. We're using FolkArt Matte, which is a great superior coverage, creamy, just a premium acrylic paint if you're not familiar. And we are going to be using Licorice, True Blue, which is a really like a royal blue, so a brighter royal blue. So you can see this is really straight from the bottle, that color of blue, if you want to follow along completely. We're going to have white. So this is Wicker White. Any white will work. A titanium or, but Wicker White is what we're using. We've got Baby Pink, which is a light pink. And then we have bright pink. So we've got 2 shades of pink. And again, FolkArt acrylic paint, of course, we love it. And you'll just see how great the coverage is. So we're going to be using those paints. We have a 12 by 12 canvas. We have got a couple brushes. So I'm going to primarily be using a #1 flat. And then I also have a 10 flat. So I'm going to be using those 2 brushes. I have some non-stick or low tack, I guess you would say, painter or stencil tape. So I've got that. I am using a gift card, and I'm going to show you a technique how to scrape and get this detail on the birch tree. So I'm using a gift card. I said I should have a Michaels gift card. I just didn't have one in my wallet, but a gift card or a palette knife will work great. I have got I have a hair dryer to dry in between steps. I've got a paper plate or palette paper to put your paint on. And then I've just got my jar of water and some baby wipes and paper towels. So we're going to get started. So again, this is what we're going to be painting. I'll walk you through again. If you have any questions, let Emily know. So there's actually a couple ways that you can do this. And Jessie actually had to teach me how to teach this painting tonight. And we were talking about a couple ways. So one is you could take your blank canvas like I have here, and you could paint your canvas with the pinks and the blues. So you can paint the whole canvas, get a really good coat on there. You could do an ombre even. We're going to do a little bit more like brush stroke, like a slip slap look, but you could do a complete smooth ombre if you wanted. And again, you could totally personalize this and use your own colors of FolkArt. I love the pink and blues though. So you could paint your whole canvas, let that dry, and then tape off where your birch trees would be and paint white over it. So that's a way you could do it. So you would basically tape this off, if you guys can see my arms, and then you would paint white and your birch detail over it. Or the way we're going to do it is another little tip that we're going to do. We're going to actually tape off our branches. So we're going to put tape wherever these big pieces of branches are, these long skinny branches. We're going to tape that off, and then we're going to do our background over it and remove it. So a couple different ways you can do it.
So Kira, for the people that don't have tape, just confirming that they would want to go ahead and paint the background as normal and then go in with the white and paint the trees on. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know what, even if you don't have tape, even if you have something, a ruler or a piece of cardstock or something that'll create that straight edge just to give you a guide, you could absolutely use that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just taking my painter's tape. I'm going to be like very liberal with it. And I've actually, for this purpose, gone ahead and marked off where my branches were going to be. So you can make them lean, you can make them straight. It's totally up to you. I like to give them a little bit of an angle. It just makes it feel more natural. So you want to press that down. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my tape, and this is two pieces of tape thick, but you can see. So I would say that's about 2 inches. And I'm just going to wrap that around the bottom. You just want to press that down. So wherever that blue tape is, that's going to remain white on your canvas. But again, if you wanted to paint your whole canvas, let it dry, you could go back and add your white in. 2 really different great options. Okay, so I'm going to angle a little bit. And again, they don't need to, you don't want to just have stripes, right? You want them to look natural like they are in nature. So you do want to give them a little bit of an angle. You can see here. So this one leans a little bit to the right. This one gets skinny. So you want to give it some variety. You don't want it to all be the same because otherwise it's just going to look like lines. The bottoms can be a little bit skinny. They can get a little bit thicker at the top. So you can see how I'm playing with that tape. You can see, and again, just, you know, really personalize it. There's no right or wrong on this. So this will be one tree. This will be my second tree.
Kira, I just want to say that I love what you're doing because it really gives your painting character when you're changing the thickness or the angle of these trees. You know, I think that is so fun when everybody's painting this together, but at the end, everyone's painting is so different. That's really fun.
Right. And so I want this tree to be kind of my thickest branch or my thickest trunk, I guess you would say. So I did 2 stripes here. And I'm going to take a third and just cover up that middle. So again, you're basically creating a mask. So wherever your tape is, your paint is not going to show. So does that make sense to everybody? So you can see my trees forming. Okay, so I'm going to keep going and I'm going to straighten this one out a little bit just to give it some variety. Again, you could paint this on wood. We're using a 12 by 12 canvas. You can paint this on a rectangle. You could do this on paper. Really, whatever you have. All right. Michael's has so many great surfaces right now. Also, if you guys haven't been or checked out online, you know, again, the FolkArt paint, they've got so many great options. And I love that you can just purchase online, curbside pickup, a lot of great options. All right. I'm going to do my last branch. And so this one, I'm just going to make it kind of come off of the page or off of the canvas. So again, they don't have to be perfectly straight. I think this gives you guys a really good visual of kind of my pattern. And I'm just mimicking the example that we showed you. Okay, so does that make sense, everybody? So anywhere that blue is, that's where our birch trunks are going to be. So you can see here, right? So there, I just mimicked. Does that help you guys see what I did? And it doesn't have to be exact, but that's kind of the idea. So I've got 5 branches. Now for composition, I would always recommend doing an odd number. And again, don't make them all the same width. Don't make them all straight up and down so you don't have stripes. You kind of want to let them feel natural and like they're actually growing outside. Okay.
So Kira, a couple people are actually needing to catch up right now.
Sure.
So if you just want to give them a few minutes,
yeah,
or just a moment, and maybe talk about, again, for those people that are doing the tape versus those people that are not doing the tape.
Yeah. So if I was not using tape, let me see. So I would just say this was a piece of cardstock or a ruler that you could clean off. I would just use, I'm just grabbing a napkin to show you because it's what I have, but I would use this as my edge, you know, and that's how I would paint. So again, anything that you have a guide, just so you get that straight line, you know, if you have a very steady hand, you can always, you know, pull down. You can always go side to side. but I would definitely use something as your guide with a straight edge. So if you don't have the tape, a ruler, a piece of cardstock that has that straight edge would make a really great guide and help you mask it off. Okay, so I'm gonna start putting my FolkArt acrylic paint on my palette. I just have a paper plate here. And so I am going to use the baby pink, which is a beautiful light pink. It's really rich and creamy. Again, the coverage of this is amazing. If you haven't used FolkArt, if you guys can see that, can you see that consistency? It's just such an amazing paint. So I'm going to use baby pink. I'm going to use bright pink. And I'm going to use True Blue, which is our really beautiful royal blue. And you guys know I make a mess on my palette, so I like to spread it all out. So this will be a disaster at the end of the night. But so I've got my baby pink FolkArt, my bright pink, and my True Blue. Again, you can personalize this with any FolkArt colors. If you want to do a more like an orange and yellow, you could do a grayscale, like just all black and white would be really beautiful. You could just do all blues. So many different options that you could do for this. All right, so you just want to make sure your tape is really pressed down really well, because that's going to give you your nice crisp edges. And don't worry about the branches on your birch tree, because we're going to go back and add those at the end, and we're just going to freehand those. So don't worry about that. You just want to make sure that you've got your trunks and we're ready to do our background. So I'm going to be using a 1-inch flat brush. This is just a great flat brush that we're going to use. And you don't need to wet your brush or add water to your paint. It's a really great consistency. You're going to get really good coverage. So I'm going to start at my top and I'm going to work my way down. So I'm going to go right into my light pink. Can you guys see this? I want you to be able to see everything on the camera. Does that help? Okay. So I'm going to start working my light pink, and I'm going to go in an X, almost like, I guess it is an X motion. So I'm going to go side to side, like I'm swooping, and I'm just going to work my paint over this canvas. Remember, you've got the tape there, so don't worry. And I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth. My bottle's out of the way. I've got these brand new, beautiful bottles. Get them all dirty. All right, so I'm gonna just do back and forth with my pink. I'm not gonna wash my brush. I'm gonna go right into the bright pink. And I'm gonna start blending the bright pink with the light pink. So you're creating, like I said, an ombre. If you wanted a true ombre, you could do that even with one color in white or a dark color, but I am just blending the pink right into the light pink. So can you see that? So no need to wash your brush out. Don't worry. Just keep painting. You guys, this is a really fun, easy painting to get started for the new year also. This is a good one for everybody. Okay, so just start working that in. I'm about, I don't know, almost halfway down. I don't like to do like things in like even or half. So I don't want to go half pink, half blue. I really want to blend these together and work them into each other. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my blue. So I'm going to go straight from my pink right into my blue. I'm not washing my brush. And when this is still wet, you don't want to dry. When it's still wet, can you guys see how it's starting to blend and create that beautiful ombre effect? And if you get too much blue, like I just did, just kind of work your pink into it. So you're almost, and then you're starting to get those really pretty purple shades. Just work it back and forth, back and forth. I'm just doing this.
I think it's important that you don't have to be like precise with these brush strokes. It's really just that natural flow that you're going with, Kira, that makes it look so pretty and effortless.
Yeah, it looks very natural. Yeah. And again, just work that in, keep working it. And then I'm just going to keep going. Now I'm going to stop picking up my pink and I am just going to work in the blue. So again, the same motion to get that texture and that painterly feel. I am going to work in the blue. And I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. You want to get the edges of your canvas. You can always go back, but we'll get the edges while we're here. And again, that blue, just work it back and forth. And you can see if you're like, oh, that's too much blue, you can always go back in and add some pink. And I'm not adding any water. You can see this is one coat coverage, FolkArt matte acrylic paint. You could use FolkArt multi-surface. You could add some specialty to this at the end, but I am loving this matte. And again, it's so forgiving. You know, I'm like, ooh, that's a really, I don't want any harsh lines. I do want it to feel really natural. So just work between your pink and your blues and keep blending. Okay. So I'm done with this brush now. So if you are happy with your blends, if you want to go back and, you know, if you're like, oh, I really like that hot pink look, or I really want it to be more pale, or you can even add some white if you wanted to. So I'm actually going to wipe my brush off here. A little bit of pink. And again, just blend that in. Okay. So I'm going to set this brush in water. And then you guys keep painting. I'm going to just start revealing. So you guys keep painting. Don't overthink it. And you want to remove your tape while it's wet. So don't let it dry. And you're just going to remove your tape. So remove your tape again. That is going to give you, so there are our birch trees, you guys. So again, you could do it the other way. You could absolutely paint the whole thing, tape it off, or use a ruler or straight edge and add white back to your painting. But the canvas is already white, so we're going to let it do the work for us. I love the reverse painting. So just remove that. Remove the tape while it is wet. Don't let that dry on there, because I'm going to actually go ahead and hit it with a hair dryer in a second. You don't need to, but just for me, so I don't stick my fingers in it while I'm talking to you guys, I'm going to hit it with a hair dryer while you guys catch up. And so remove all of this tape. All right. My birch. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and I am going to hit this with a hair dryer while you guys finish up. Okay, so that was for my sanity because I'm messy. You guys don't need to dry in between these steps the way we're doing this, but that was just for me so I didn't bump it. So again, we've got our beautiful pink and blue, and you guys can see that. So that's no white, no water. That is just our light pink, our bright pink. It creates this beautiful purple color into the blue. Okay, so once we've done that, then we are going to take our black and our white. So I'm using FolkArt Licorice and FolkArt Wicker White. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take my brush. I'm just going to go ahead and use my smaller brush to mix. This is a 10 flat. You can use your bigger brush to mix, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix some of the black and the white together, and I'm going to create some different tones and shades of gray. So I guess it'd be more shades of gray than tones. So you can see here on this birch, like a real birch, you've got different shades. You've got black, light gray, dark gray. So I'm going to want to create a couple different grays to use from my black and white. So of course, what you do is mix your black and white. And you're not going to need a ton of paint because we're going to use our gift card and we're going to actually just skim at the top of it. So I am just mixing my black and white to get some different. So I've got like a really good medium gray, a light gray, and I have my black still over here. So I'm just pre-mixing this to make this easy. I'm going to wash my brush out. Okay, so we're gonna do our little, the little twigs and little sprigs of branches. We're gonna do that at the very end. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a gift card. So an old gift card, you can use a palette knife also, or like a really hard like piece of like cardstock or cardboard. I'm just gonna use, I love crafting with gift cards. Again, grab your old Michael's gift cards. Don't use one that has money on it. You can use the long side or the short side. So either way. And I'm going to use this to actually scrape on my paint. So this is how we're going to create this beautiful texture. All right, so I'll show you guys. I'm going to practice real quick. I'll show you on the palette paper here. So I'm going to take my gift card. I'm going to dip the corner in. I'm going to do the short edge here. You want to wipe it off because you don't want too much. You can always add more. So can you guys see, like, I have Target. I'm sorry. I should have had a Michael's gift card. This is just what I had. Grab paint. So that's about how much paint you want. And then what you're going to do, I'm going to show you guys. So you're just going to pull and drag. So pull and drag. The more paint you have, the more thicker options you get. So if you want a little bit, like I started, a little bit. And then we're going to layer this. So all you're doing is you're putting down the tip, the edge, the straight edge, and pulling. Does that make sense? So you don't want to like smear it. You want to like push it down, like, and drag it. Does that make sense? Down and drag. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start and work from the top of my branches all the way down. And something, I do want to keep my darkest color of my bark on one side and my lightest on the other. So I'm going to do all my dark on the right side and I'm going to do my lighter gray on the left side. Now, if you mess this up, you can totally go back and paint over it with white, so don't worry. Okay, so I'm going to go in my medium gray that I made. Not too much. You can always go back and add more. And I am going to push it down and pull it. Does that make sense? So can you guys hear that? That's all I'm doing is I'm scraping against the canvas. Get a little bit more paint and scrape against the canvas. I'm going to go into my light color, my lightest gray I made, and I'm going to do the same. And it's very sporadic. It doesn't have to, you don't need to do even like one for one. If you have a light and a dark, you can just do it sporadically. You always go back in, and you almost want to like give it a little bit of a curve so it's not straight on. Does that make sense? So you're actually like giving it some dimension so it feels like the branch is rounded.
So Kira, we have a question, and they were asking, why would you suggest putting all of the dark color on the right side than all of the light color on the left side?
Sure. Just for lighting where the light is hitting. So you've got to think of your light source. So if light's coming one way, you're going to have light hitting on the left or the right. So this one, the light would be coming from, I guess you would say the right. I don't know, you guys are watching me and everything's turned around upside down, but light would be coming one way and dark on the other side. So you're giving the illusion of a light source. Does that make sense, Emily?
Yes, absolutely. I think that whenever you're in a forest and, the sun may be coming down when it's, coming, it's approaching night
Setting and rising, right?
Yeah, right. And you'll be able to see that there's a shadow on one side of your trees, and then there's the light that's coming in from the opposite side. So it definitely gives a level of semi-realism to your very abstract painting. Yes.
Absolutely. And not every one of them have to have dark. If you're like, oh, I want my trees to feel lighter and I don't want to have a lot of dark, or you want to use brown, you could absolutely use brown for this. But I would definitely recommend practicing with your birch trees. Again, you can always go back and cover it up. You can add more light and highlights. And you're just pushing down and kind of giving it a little swoop. You just always want to make sure you get both sides. You don't want to leave these one-sided birch trees. This one I'm going to kind of go all the way down. When I get into my dark. You could use a palette knife. So yeah, and then if you're like, oh, I want more, you want it to feel more distressed, I'm just kind of using what's left on my card. I'm not going back into the paint. I'm just kind of giving it a little bit more of a distressed look. Does that? So I'm just kind of pulling my paint and, you know, manipulating it and moving it around. You can always go back into your white if you want to add some highlights onto your gray, just to give it some more dimension. Again, I love the texture and that you can play with that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our flat brush. So this is a 10 flat. A round brush would work great. You could even use your 1 inch flat and just use it up on its side. But I'm going to use my brush. I'm going to put some more of our FolkArt Wicker White on my palette. Make sure my brush is clean and dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to create these little offshoots and these branches, like the new growth. So I'm going to follow this closely. And so I'm going to push down and pull up because you want kind of the tip of the branch to like look like it's growing. So it's like a little bit skinnier. So a little bit wider at the bottom and pull up. And on this one, you can even give it an extra little sprig. And you can see that coverage. That, I mean, that white is covering over the blue beautifully. That was a tongue twister. And just a little one there. So again, you can just touch those up. Now, if your branches, like I am, that I painted, they're kind of eating into some of my like little gray bark pieces, you can always just take your card, go right back into your gray, and just kind of swipe that, and it's going to kind of cover that. So it looks like it's truly part of the tree and it was not an add-on.
Kira, I really love how you're going back in and adding those final details because it adds a level of realism to those trees with all the depth and layers.
Yeah, I love just all the shades and the layering that you can create with just, you know, some paint and a palette knife or a gift card.
And I think a big factor in that is not necessarily mixing your paints completely. It's having just a little bit of that variation when you pull the white back into the gray that makes it a little bit offset.
Absolutely. You know, this is great. We just got out of holiday mode, but you could do this for seasonal. You could do this for spring. Like I said, you can make your backgrounds any color. If you wanted browns instead of blacks for your birch, you could absolutely do that. So yeah. So you guys, this was a really easy, fun one, but I love this technique and how look, we just did a painting, you guys. So great techniques. I love the taping off and creating those beautiful birch trees. And again, you could do so many different colors. You don't have to do pink and blue. You could do just a number of different colors. You could do all blue. You could do teal, you
yellow,
could do red,
and
yellow.
Back. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So I love this one.
Samarium said that they look great side by side.
Yeah,
It's like a continuation. You could do
it
two
does.
sets,
They totally look
and you
like
could have
it's
one
big.
on either side of your couch.
Yeah, and you could do this really large scale too. This is just a 12 by 12, but you could do this big.
Yeah.
Yep, you could even hit it with some treasure gold. Again, this is just such a great technique. And it's like, wow, I did a painting and it was just like, follow these steps and it was really fun.
I'd love to see this on like a rectangle canvas that's really
Yeah.
long, and you
Yeah.
could just keep the trees going up and even add a more gradual ombre in the background.
You could even do a stencil,
You
know,
could.
and do a name or a welcome or something like that. You could absolutely do this. You could do this for Valentine's Day and do it in reds and pinks. So lots of fun things.
Yeah, somebody said such a fun and stress-free painting.
Yes, that's exactly. I was like, oh, it's almost the end of the week, you guys, and you just did an awesome painting. And if you didn't paint along with us, take some me time and do this weekend. It doesn't take long. And it is instant gratification and it is super easy. And I love this. Be creative, try something new. Emily and I were just talking about what do you want to change this year? So if you haven't painted and you're just watching to get inspired, try this year. Try some folk art paint. Check out the Michael's classes. They've got such a great community classroom. You know, we're live twice a week. So we love being with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kira. You did it. It was
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you so much again for joining us. We will be back on Monday night. We've got another Let's Paint Live. So we will be here Monday next week, and check out all the classes you can sign up for. Thank you, Michaels. Thank you guys so much for being here. And again, I hope you enjoyed stress-free Thursday painting with me.
Thank you, everybody. It was so fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye.